I know people who eat powders and all sorts of little things that they supplement their diet with, and they're measuring on scales by the grams of this and grams of that. And I'm going, no, that's not the way. Just eat all the fruit you care for. But sometimes a lettuce leaf might look appealing, in which case eat a lettuce leaf. It's not a sin, it's not a crime, it's not off our natural diet. Our natural diet is fruits and young tender greens. End of story. Today a question came in about why don't I just eat fruit? You know, nothing but fruit, only fruit, the whole fruit, nothing but the fruit. And a lot of thoughts run through my head when I hear this question. So let me see if I can break it into parts on the fly and give you something useful. Why don't I just eat fruit? Well, you know, some breakfasts I just have fruit. In fact, almost every breakfast I just have melon, or I just have juicy fruit, or I just have a banana, or I just have fruit for breakfast. Really, most of the time I'm not looking for anything else. Most of the time for lunch I just have fruit. Bananas usually, but when there's anything else that will fit the bill that I enjoy, if there's mamey available, I'm having mamey, not bananas. If there's great papaya, I'm having papaya, not bananas. If there's perfect persimmon, I'm having persimmon, not bananas. When there's mango, I'm gonna have mango for lunch and not bananas. Lychee season this year was spectacular, the best lychee season in many years. And lots of times for lunch I just had lychee. But bananas become my default fruit, if you will. They're my go-to, they're the fallback. They're always available, I can count on them, and a banana lunch for me is hard to beat. Just eat them one after the next, or drink them one after the next, or make something out of them. But I enjoy fruit a lot. I eat a lot of fruit. In fact, it's a very rare dinner that doesn't begin with fruit. I mean, I would say out of 365 nights, 364 of them begin with fruit. And a lot of times it's a lot of fruit, and a lot of times it's only fruit because the fruit is so good. But most of the time, I have a salad too. I enjoy my salad. And at least half the time, or pretty close, about half, my salad only has fruit in it, but it's a vegetable salad. Because there's a category of foods that, depending on which chart you look at, are either known as fruit vegetables or vegetable fruits. And this is where the confusion lies, because in the world of botany, where we study plants, lots of things are called fruit that we don't think of generally as a fruit. For instance, okra, or eggplant, aubergine as it's called in many places. These things are technically, according to botany, this is a fruit. And a person who says, I'm a fruitarian, I only eat fruit, would eat okra, which is pretty much a vegetable, a lot like celery in my understanding of flavors and textures and whatnot, because it has seeds inside and a bit of flesh on the outside. It's technically, botanically, a fruit. But no one is going to make a fruit cocktail and include okra in the fruit cocktail. It doesn't fit in there. They're not going to put eggplant in a fruit cocktail. They're not even going to put zucchini, summer squash, winter squash. Nobody's putting a chunk of pumpkin in a fruit cocktail, because although, according to the science of botany, okay, so how many people have studied botany? Raise your hand. Out of 100 people, there's very few. Most people can't really make food distinctions based on the guidelines that we find in botany, where some people understand almonds to be fruit because of the nature. I mean, it's got a little bit of flesh on the outside, it's got a seed on the inside. Technically, it could be considered fruit, which would make almond oil fruit juice. No, that doesn't work. Nobody would eat almonds and say to me, I'm eating fruit. Except some fruitarian or another who says I only eat fruit, but I include almonds because they are fruit, even though a cashew, no, I don't eat a cashew. That's not fruit. That's the seed of a fruit, the cashew apple. It's a different story, right? Or I don't eat a macadamia nut because it doesn't have a fleshy body outside, even though it's got the seed on the inside, but I would eat the almond with the fleshy body, even though we don't eat the fleshy body. So, to me, this is a very confusing way to eat or to describe to others how you eat, to say, I'm a botanically based fruitarian. In fact, I don't generally use the word fruitarian because it doesn't really explain how animals eat. Animals eat, you know, we have herbivores and omnivores and gramnivores, and the ones that mostly eat fruit are called frugivores. That makes us frugivores rather than fruitarian. But we do eat in kitchens, most of us. Most of the time we make our food in the kitchen, and we're chopping on the cutting board in the kitchen. And in the kitchen we're making a cucumber and tomato salad, and we're thinking this is vegetable matter. We're going to make a vegetable salad. Tonight's salad is cucumber and tomato, and tomorrow's salad is zucchini noodles with lettuce and maybe a bell pepper. Well, it turns out, according to botany, that the bell pepper and the tomato and the cucumber are all fruits. So we could say, for the most part, except for the lettuce in that example, that we're eating fruit salads. But in the kitchen, we're not thinking that a tomato is a fruit. And we have to let go of being confused by both botany and culinary, the kitchen skills, and choose one. So for me, as I've explained in the 80-10-10 diet, I'm only going to speak from a culinary perspective unless I tell you otherwise, like I just did where we talked a little bit about botany. But I'm never going to make my food choices botanical food choices. I'm trying to be a fruitarian. I'm not trying to be a fruitarian, but I do include a lot of what are known as the vegetable fruits. So at that point, it could be a little confusing, but I'm having a salad. I'm having cucumber and tomato for salad. I'm having okra and courgette for a salad. And at that point, I'm still in the world of fruit. I could have eggplant and bell pepper for a salad, and it's still all fruit. And I'm not going to then claim to be fruitarian. I'm going to say, I eat vegetables. I think of them as vegetables. Maybe I'm mistaken, and you're perfectly entitled to have your viewpoint. If you want to go, no, Doug, those are fruits. All you ever eat is fruit. Well, even then I'm going to say, yes, but I eat lettuce and celery. And nobody's calling lettuce and celery fruit, except for one guy that I met one time who said that he was a fruitarian. And I asked him, do you eat lettuce? And he goes, yes, of course I eat lettuce. And I said, well, how do you make that work with being a fruitarian? He said, I'm a fruitarian, therefore anything I eat is fruit. I'm telling you honest, that's what he said. I'm not making that up. You couldn't make this stuff up, folks. So let's be a little more rational than that and go, okay, we're designed to eat a lot of fruit. If we look at what the creatures anatomically and physiologically built like us, the orangutan or the chimpanzee or the gorilla or the bonobo. The orangutan eats mostly fruit, but they nibble on some vegetables. The chimpanzee eats mostly fruit. Bonobo, mostly fruit. The gorilla, not as much fruit. Why? Because skinny branches out on the end of fruit trees and 500-pound gorillas, that's a bad mix. That's a bad mix. But in a zoo setting where the animals are given lots of fruit, you know, you see in the gorilla cage, they're given an option between vegetable matter and fruit. They're going to choose fruit. If they had access, they would eat more fruit, but they don't have access. It's hard for them. But there's also some anatomical differences. If we look at their genetics, the gorilla of the list of anthropoid primates is the furthest relative from us of all of the ones we've mentioned. The gorilla is the least intelligent of the bunch. Hey, he's a very close genetic relative and he's very smart, but he's the least intelligent and he's our furthest relative genetically. If we arrange them by order of fruit eating, the gorilla eats the least amount of fruit, and that would be appropriate. But even the top one, the one that's the bonobo, is considered so close to us as to almost be us. But they're a little more peaceful than we are. And they share more than 99% of our genetics. Possibly more of our genetics is shared between us and bonobo than between one human and another human in some situations. Like, we can be diversely different. So, and they eat mostly fruit, but not exclusively. Now, there is the issue. They don't have access to a store. They can't just get whatever they want whenever they want it. And maybe they eat everything and anything they can get their hands on that's edible, because otherwise there's just not enough food. They're not dealing with surplus food very often. They don't have access to food from around the world, only local grown, in season, on the spot. So, I mean, you know, they will eat some bugs. It doesn't mean we automatically should or shouldn't, and I'm not sitting in judgment of that, but bugs don't thrill me. The thought of eating bugs, I don't have like a, ooh, I couldn't eat a bug. I don't feel that way about it. And I'm sure I've eaten plenty of bugs unknowingly. But I don't feel like, wow, if bugs started falling from the sky, I would grab handfuls of bugs and eat them because they seemed like food to me. I'm looking for fruit hanging from trees. I'm looking for that color. I'm looking for the flavor. I'm looking for the texture. I'm looking for sweet and juicy. And last I checked, please correct me if I'm wrong, bugs aren't sweet and juicy. So that's my primary concern, is to find more sweet and juicy. My highest concerns is to get enough water, to get enough sugar. That's where things that's got to keep coming back to me. So, am I a fruitarian? No, I don't claim to be. Never have. I'm so glad I didn't have to change my story. Have I gone a month eating only fruit? Oh, sure, lots of times. But usually by the time I'm done with a month of eating only fruit, I'm so glad to have a salad. It's like the best thing ever. And I like the feeling of having a little bit of lettuce or a little bit of celery with my fruit now and then. And it seems to sit really well, and it just, especially, I'm not going to like go into chemistry and I'm eating celery for the sodium, I'm eating fruit for the this and the that for the that, and I'm having the Brazil nut for the selenium, and I'm having the walnut for the omega-3. No, I'm not doing that. I know about all that science and all that chemistry, and I could, if I wanted to, eat that way for those reasons, but that's never the way I eat. I'm eating banana because it's rich in banana. I really like banana, so I'm eating banana because it's got a lot of banana in there. When I eat papaya, there's hardly any banana in papaya. So I eat papaya for its papaya-ness and mango for its mango-ness. And do I have to study chemistry in order to figure out how to eat? No, not at all. I'm trying to free people from being so hooked into the science that they can't make decisions without understanding what's in their food and then needing to have a scale in order to know how much of it they should eat. And we're smarter than that. Come on, we're supposedly smarter than a lot of other creatures, and they eat without doing all that stuff. Why should we have to? They can figure out what to nibble on and what to eat and what to sit down and make a meal of without any, oh, I better check a book, I better see what the doctor says, I better run. Be a little more, if I could say the word, autonomous, and make your own decisions. Trust your judgment. Eat fruits and vegetables. All the fruit you want, all the vegetables you care for. Enough fruit so you're never craving starch, so you're never looking around for more fruit in between meals, before or after. So you never finish a meal and you're looking around for something heavy, something rich, something more. Eat enough fruit to satiate yourself, and eat enough vegetables, whether those are fruity vegetables or whether they are non-fruity vegetables, just young, tender vegetables. Eat enough vegetables so you're never going, wow, I'm craving salt. I'm really craving salt. Vegetables are a great source of the various minerals that are known to satisfy our salt cravings, primarily sodium, but also potassium and other things. So anything you can make a salt out of, and there's at least a dozen of those in the human body, a dozen different minerals that are used to make salts. But anytime you feel you're like craving salt, it's a surefire thing. You haven't eaten enough vegetables. I'm meeting way too many people who are eating based on a philosophy, whether or not it works, forcing the issue, losing weight uncontrollably, gaining weight uncontrollably, going out of their, not happy on their program, but following it because that's what the book said or that's what somebody told them. Way too many people who aren't just going, look, just eat fruit till you're happy. Hopefully until you're going to be happy for 3, 4, 5, 6 hours until the next time you planned to eat. Figure out how to eat enough so that it'll hold you until the next meal. I mean, I'm sitting here with 6 people in Costa Rica. We're eating breakfast, lunch, dinner. Boom, boom, boom. And none of the 6 are going, you know, I need to snack in between meals or I'm just not going to make it. We're all being very active because we all like to be active. It's fun to go for a walk or to play in the pool or lift some weights or play a game, something active, do a little juggle, whatever. And nobody's, oh, I've got to eat in between meals, or I totally misjudged. Like, we're just serving all the fruit you want for breakfast. There's no scales, there's no measuring. You eat too little one day and you go, it wasn't enough breakfast, I need to eat more tomorrow. And you figure it out very, very quickly. Human beings are smart. Let's use our smart and not have to rely on what the science tells us, the science says, or, you know, I need to micromanage my nutrition down to I mean, I know people who eat powders and all sorts of little things that they supplement their diet with, and they're measuring on scales by the grams of this and grams of that, and I'm going, no, that's not the way. Just eat all the fruit you care for. But sometimes a lettuce leaf might look appealing, in which case, eat a lettuce leaf. It's not a sin, it's not a crime, it's not off our natural diet. Our natural diet is fruits and young tender greens. End of story. And whether you want to call them leafy greens, I mean, and people go, oh, but celery's not a leafy green, Doug. Oh, come on, please, please. But cucumber isn't green. No, but it's fruit. But it's like, we can drive ourselves crazy. There's way more important things to do in life, like give somebody a hug or just tell them you appreciate them or write a letter. than to get so caught up in food that it becomes an illness rather than just, well, we don't get that caught up about sleep. We just sleep when we're sleepy. We don't get that caught up about exercise. We just exercise as much as we want. We don't get that caught up about air. We just breathe it. We don't flavor it. We don't measure it. Come on, folks. Like, lighten up a little bit. Trust that your body's been working perfectly for you since inception and before, but certainly since inception, your body's been working perfectly for you, and all your parts grew without you measuring anything, and everything healed every time you got hurt or cut or bruised or anything else, and it all healed perfectly without you having to micromanage it in any way. Can't we trust our food too? We're designed to eat fruits and vegetables. Those are appealing to us. We like sweet and juicy things. We even have a sweet tooth, for goodness sakes. Our eyes pick up the color of fruit hanging on trees. I mean, if I was in a field of carrots right now, most people would never know there was even food underneath our feet. We wouldn't see it. We'd just see green. It would look like every other green. That's not the deal, right? So trust a little more. Label a whole lot less, psychoanalyze or micromanage way less, if at all. And just the back to nature thing doesn't necessarily mean let's see how dirty I can get, how much can I ignore my hygiene, my personal hygiene, as many people avoid doctor at all costs. That's not what back to nature means. Like, if I'm going back to nature, it means I'm gonna sleep when I'm tired. I'm gonna rest when I need a rest. I'm gonna move when I feel like I want to move. I'm gonna interact with people in a normal, natural, relaxed fashion. I'm gonna see fruit. I'm gonna eat fruit. If it seems appealing, I'll eat some, and I'm gonna eat till I'm satisfied, and not. Okay, we can use feedback mechanisms. Look, it's 12 o'clock. It's time to eat. But I'm not hungry. Yes, but it's time. Tell me that makes sense. I mean, it doesn't really, the scale says I better eat less. The scale says I better eat more. The scale says one at a time, please. No, the scale doesn't do that kind of stuff. You're making interpretations, and it's not bad to have some guidelines. But if I'm not hungry, I'm not gonna eat. That would be nuts. At last I checked, I'm not nuts. So enjoy your fruit, but don't just adopt a philosophy just because you heard there's some philosophy out there where there's people who only do this or people who only do that or never do this or never do that. Let's allow for a little bit of calm, a little bit of flexibility, plenty of variety in your diet throughout the course of the year, simple meals when you sit down to eat, and we'll thrive. That's enough to thrive. We don't have to get 3 grams of this and 2 micrograms of that, and where am I going to get my selenium or my ozone or my, oh my gosh, I don't know, where's the cobalt going to come from? I better worry. No, that's not what we're set up to be doing. We're set up to just eat with the seasons, get everything you need, but it doesn't mean you'll never have a nutritional problem. Food isn't our only source of nutrients. I mean, you blow through B vitamins when you worry, for goodness sakes. You get your D from the sun, you get your B12 from the poop from microbes, no less. And the microbes live in your throat mucosa. I mean, what could be easier than that? But it's not just about food. Without enough sunshine, you can't properly metabolize the calcium that came from food. So there's just lots of other factors at play, but we have to cover the basics first. Let's take care of those basics. Eat your fruit. Stuff isn't just like automatically off your diet because, oh no, I've adopted the philosophy, I am a fruitarian, I only eat fruit. Well, that might be nice, and if you can make it work, more power to you. I'm not trying to convince you out of it. But if you start craving salt, let's understand that something you're doing isn't working. If you start having any cravings, something you're doing isn't working. It's not that the program didn't work, but the way you're implementing the program worked. It's not that 80-10-10 failed you. You didn't necessarily apply it in a fashion that is sufficiently correct for it to work for you. You go, oh no, I was doing 80-10-10. I started craving salt like crazy. I was doing 80-10-10. I had to eat starch or it just didn't work. You know, I've heard all sorts of stuff. And every time when I did 80-10-10, but still I just had so much trouble with thrush. It was silly. You know, I'm going, let's look at your diet. And when we finally actually do analyze somebody's diet who's having trouble with thrush while they're doing 80-10-10, it turns out that they're eating 50% of their calories from fat, thinking that it was really low. Compared to what they used to do, it might have been, but 50% of calories from fat isn't 80-10-10, and it's never going to work. Eventually, it's always going to fail you. Let's figure out how to do it right. If you need help, if you need guidance, my goodness gracious, I'm so readily available on my forum, through email, through consultations. I'm constantly making free offerings all the time. If it's money, if that's the problem, got the biggest FAQ you could ever access. And I'm happy to answer questions. And sometimes all people need is about that much guidance. Just that much guidance. They're just almost there, but they just need that much. And then we go, march down that path and it'll get you right where you're going. But if you go over there, you're going to miss the bathroom entirely. You're going to miss success on 80-10-10 entirely. You'll go down a different path. It's not the same. So most people who contact me about consulting, I answer their questions and it's a free deal and it's done and they never even had to pursue it. Do some people need huge amounts of consulting? Yes. But most need the tiniest bit. And then they just go, okay, thanks, see ya. Don't be afraid to reach out to me and ask. Maybe it's a big deal, in which case I'll tell you and it's still your choice. But maybe you just need, and I just tell you and it's done, and then off you go and everybody's happy and the world is good. Enjoy your fruit, folks. Hi guys, Dr. Doug Graham here with you today, and I'm just so excited about the Raw Nature Retreat. Harriet Gare had the most amazing idea. She's been a student of mine for almost a decade and a world-class athlete for much longer than that. And she said, can't we do a raw food retreat in Europe where the entire focus is on helping people build their fitness, their physique, and reach their health goals? Let's really make a fitness retreat. So she's put together Raw Nature Retreat. The best food, the best fitness, the best teachers. I mean, we're uncompromising on this one, and it's the first of its kind ever. You gotta come. I mean, I'm gonna be there, Harriet's gonna be there, we've got a few surprises in store for you. It's going to be the retreat of the year, I think. It's really something special. And if you're interested in taking your fitness to the next level, you want to reach that physique of your dreams, you want to have a good time in the camaraderie of like-minded individuals, come to Raw Nature Retreat. I'm looking forward to spending really intimate, personal, one-on-one time with you.